the end of my point.
I'm here to talk over. When someone throws out a spurious point like, oh, well, how would you lower abortion? I would make it illegal. Oh, so then do you think that stops all abortions? Well, no, that wasn't your question. Your question was, how do we lower abortions, right? So the reason I interrupt is because you're changing the debate, and I'm pointing out where you're being insincere in your debate question. You try to just hop, skip, and jump over things, and if I don't call you out on it, there's this thinking that, oh, that you're in agreement because you didn't retort against what I said. So you're setting up what's called what's not a scarecrow. What is it called? Somebody help me out in the comments. You're straw manning, right? You're creating an effigy of my opinion that's not my opinion, and you're attacking that effigy. So in order for you to not make this effigy, which is not me, I have to interrupt you, because otherwise you're painting me into a position that I don't actually have, and then having me force an argument against that position that's not my position. You see how that works?
Okay.
Thanks, Joy.
So, yeah. I forget what we were speaking about, but I just know it's called like sexist or something.
Yeah.
And my stance is literally pro-choice, so I don't understand how I could be sexist if I'm fighting for all genders.
Because you said that men don't get a say.
No. I said you, based off of your morals and stuff, but I think men can have opinions.
So why don't I get a
say
then?
There's a difference between having an opinion and making decisions.
Right. So why don't I get an opinion, Joy?
No, I said you do have an opinion, but you getting a say and it being literally illegal, it does not, I don't agree with that, because it's nothing that will directly. I don't get a say in
whether it's legal or not. So do I get to vote?
No, I'm saying men in general should not.
That's a sexist argument.
No, I'm saying it's not a sexist argument. If something does not and that's for anything, if something does not directly affect somebody based on their religion, gender, or race, or ethnicity, whatever you want to say, people outside of that should not make decisions that affect those people, but does not directly
Joy,
affect them, because it's not in the
I'll give you an easy reason tort. Joy, have you ever shot and killed somebody?
I've never.
Never? Okay, so do you not have an opinion on it?
What?
That was a false analogy.
Which one?
Okay, so the shot and killed somebody. I remember what you two and Joy were talking about. Oh no, is my thing frozen?
Is it frozen? No, it says connecting, but I can hear you.
Oh, okay. So I remember what you guys left off. It was abusive relationships and how she said you can't have a say in it. The reason why is because you were like, you don't experience the abuse. So you don't tell people to avoid it easily, or that they're dumb for going into it, because a lot of abusers tend to be super manipulative and use tactics like wolf in sheep's clothing, or they're the only support for them. So
do you agree that you should be extremely, extremely vetting with people that you have sex with?
What?
Do you think you should have extreme vetting for people that you decide to have sex with? Yeah, and then it lost you. Come back on. I'll let you back on.
L to you, but so a lot of fucking women, right? You were talking about, oh, I'll just fucking make them illegal or harder to get, right? Yeah. That's not going to stop, because honestly, a lot of women will take that free option, whether it harms them or not, over spending the $500 to $1,000 for an actual abortion that is legal in the U.S.
Yeah, and I think those are horrible people.
Well, even if it's banned or you try to like lessen abortions, it's not going to stop them.
Well, sure. I mean, cutting people up into tiny pieces is illegal, but some people still do
Honestly,
it. So should we make killing people legal? Because some people are still going to do it.
Listen, my mom was raped, and honestly, I would have not blamed her for getting a fucking abortion just to not have me. Because I know the fucking regret that she has from having me. I know that like every time she thinks of me, that's like what she thinks of. And that's a really
That's
shit thing to
horrible
also
because
force on the women's, right?
because
Like,
that's
to
saying
women, right?
that somehow that you are akin or somehow share something negative with that horrible person. Do you feel that inside of you that you are somehow a horrible person because a horrible person did that to your mother?
I hate the person that did it. I don't know who it is, but whoever the
Right.
fuck
So
did it,
do you
they're not sitting in
take
jail. They're
ownership
not
of
sitting
that?
in prison. So
Right, but
that's
do you
wrong.
take
First
ownership
off.
of that? Do you say like your mother looks at you said your mother looks at you in a derogatory way because she birthed you from a horrible person that raped her, right?
So
Do you
I was
feel
adopted. I don't see my mom, but she told me
okay?
about it, and I know that that's probably how she feels, and that's probably why she gave me up for adoption is simply
Sure. I
because of
think
the
that was a
fact that
smart
she
thing for
felt
her to
that.
do.
Right. But like a lot of women don't want that option. They don't want to like go through that trauma and have that kid for 9 months and possibly ruin their body or die giving birth.
Well, okay, we talked about the dying thing as being extremely rare, right? You could get electrocuted on your way to the
It's not
hospital,
really that
right?
rare. That's
It's
not
actually
that rare.
extremely rare.
Three of my
It's
friends have kids,
extremely,
and all three
extremely
died
rare,
during.
like under 0.1%.
Okay, doesn't change the fact that a
Well, to
lot of
use that
women
as an
do.
argument is kind of disingenuous, right?
Okay. Are we talking about the amount of people that actually die during childbirth, or die and then get recessed back to life? Because that's not that rare.
Well, yeah, well, let's say die, because that's the only real contributing thing, right? So do you see how a lot of people use this argument when they're talking about abortion, is they say, oh, well, what about if a 12-year-old paraplegic was gang raped, on their way to the charity work they were about? They try to make this
I've never
crazy,
heard that
insane
argument.
scenario, and then they use that as their catalyst to say abortion should be legal.
Well, what if a 12-year-old was raped? What if they were walking home from school, got fucking kidnapped, and were raped, and now have a fucking child?
Yeah, I don't think that a bad thing helps another bad thing.
Oh, so you're just going to force a 12-year-old that was raped to have a child?
Yeah, because
That's
to me this is
disgusting.
the line that I have, and this is why this is the line that I have is it has nothing to do with this child. Like you said, the person that was on here before, she was a baby of rape, right? I don't equivocate her to her rapist in any way, shape, or form. I don't think that she has anything to do with that rapist. I don't think that she is a rapist because she was birthed from the DNA of a rapist. Do you see how that's kind of disingenuous to say that? To say that, she's going to have the baby from a horrible person. Therefore, then it's okay to kill this third party that had nothing to do with it.
Think about how that child, like, how their life is going to be. Like, what?
Okay, let's stop right there.
Because that's a 50-50 if they're going to have a good home or bad home.
Jade, are we going to now say that we're going to predict or estimate the future life of this person? And therefore, based on our projection of this person's life or what we think it could or might be, granted, they could cure cancer or do whatever, but because their parents are poor or dumb or crazy or whatever, we're going to eugenically choose to kill them because of that.
Yeah, because quality of life. Dude, I honestly,
okay,
I don't
then you're
want
a
kids,
eugenicist.
right? Because of the quality of life.
Do you know what a eugenicist is?
Yeah.
What is a eugenicist? So let me tell you what a eugenicist is, Jade. A eugenicist was a program. It's a level of thinking to rid out the weak and undesired out of a population. You might remember this being done by a little known group called the Nazis. So they would say, "Oh, if you have Down syndrome, yeah, we're gonna sterilize all people with Down syndrome." I think that's wrong. That's called eugenesis. That's by saying because I predict that these people should not breed, should not have children. I only want, say, people that have blonde hair, blue eyes, and are 6'2" to procreate. That's called eugenesis. That's a horrible.
I will say, listen, women
Yes.
that find out that their child might have disabilities, yeah, they might have abortion as like something that they would want, especially if they can't afford to take care
You can
of
afford
a
to take care
child
of a
with a
baby. Everyone
disability,
can.
right?
Everyone can afford to take care of a child. Not able to afford it.
Because, like, let's say the family's poor, right?
Okay, yeah.
Or the woman.
A lot of poor families. How are they not able to afford it again?
Think about how our wages, bro, right now, the fucking government, like with our fucking wages. Like, I worked 3 jobs and I'm
Sure.
still
Have
fucking
you ever
poor.
heard of the phrase social safety net? Have you ever
Yes.
heard of entitlement programs?
Yes, because that would make the mothers feel real great relying on the fucking government to take care of their child, right?
Well, they are, right? They're relying on the government to allow them to abort a child.
The government doesn't pay for abortions, buddy. You pay $500
It's
to
subsidized,
$1,000.
guaranteed it's subsidized.
It's $500 to $1,000.
Yeah,
Insurance
and that's
doesn't
a
really
price
cover abortions.
with subsidy. Do you know what subsidy is? Subsidy is where the government pays a portion of the cost of things.
Okay, so what you're talking about, like how Planned Parenthood has federal funding, right? That's for their medical equipment, like legit medical equipment.
Yeah, like the clamps that they use to pull the body parts out of the uterus, out of the woman's uterus. Yeah.
Do you realize most abortions are by the pill, right? They give you a pill. That's the $500
Sure, yeah, that's
one.
wrong too. Or sometimes they use sometimes they use a vacuum and suck them out that way. But if they're too big, a lot of times they'll have to put these clamps and they have like little hooks and they put it in the woman's body and then they pull out piece by piece.
On like,
yeah.
Okay, so the pill forces a miscarriage, right? And yes, if that ends up not working, then yes, they have to pull the child out because by that time, like that child could either be dead or if it's really past the point of, hey, like I can't like miscarry
for
whatever reason, right? Yeah,
exactly.
They have that option, but most women do go for the pill because that is the first option that they give you.
If they recognize they're pregnant within that short amount of time.
It's actually like not very short. I mean, it's up to I think like 10 weeks is when
6 weeks the child has eyes, eyelids, nose, mouth, and tongue. That's 6 weeks.
Okay, but nervous system doesn't form until like after
12 weeks. At 12 weeks, a child can feel pain.
That's why I just said 12 weeks. Yep.
At 2 weeks before that, the body is making its
by
own
12,
movements.
You should know that you're pregnant, though.
Oh yeah, you should, and you should know that having sex could lead to pregnancy.
You also got to remember that when they tell you how long you've been pregnant for, they go based off of your last period. So if you're having a regular period where you get it, 4 weeks instead of like, once a week of a month, right?
We all know these things. So let me ask you this question: just in a one-word answer, do you think abortion is good?
Personally, yeah.
Okay. So would you have any problem being there watching abortions happen?
No, I wouldn't have a problem with that.
Why? Oh, you would be okay with it?
Yeah.
Would you ever squirm or have anything when they're pulling the body parts out of a person in those instances, or when they have to actually break the neck of the child to kill it after they take it out of the body? Or are you okay with that? Do you think that's good?
I mean, I don't care if a woman chooses to not have a child. And also, usually when they do
And if you can't see that, then I don't think there's anything I could say or anybody else in the world could say that could change your mind. If you were on the basis of saying, yeah, I think that's good. I think a woman should choose. I think a woman should choose that. That's a horrible thing to say. That's an evil thing to say. And I would hope and pray to every God that exists that you would change that opinion, because that's that if you believe in anything, that's like the definition of evil. If you think it's good to do that. Mom, Sid likes hot moms. Hey, is it Sid likes hot moms?
Yes, it is.
Okay, good. How's it going?
Okay, I'm just gonna kind of go off of like what you said at the end there. I honestly do not know where you're getting breaking the neck from and everything. I do not.
Well, that's how you kill a baby that's too big. That's how you kill a baby that's too big to be aborted with a pill or be removed with forceps.
Sorry.
Did you hear that?
I heard like the end of it. I did not hear the rest though. Sorry about that.
Yeah. So we kind of all know, like, when the baby comes out, like how big it is, like what it looks like, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when depending on the stage of when the mother decides to have an abortion, it changes how they abort it, right? So like plan B, if you're really, really early on, right? Later on in the development, like we said, 6 weeks, eyes, lids, nose, tongue, mouth. That's at 6 weeks. Okay. And so childs develop in the womb. They actually grow limbs and hair and eyes, and they start moving around at 10 weeks. Right. And so the more and more of time that goes on, the change in the way you have to abort. Now a plan B pill won't work. So then you have to change. Well, maybe they'll have to empty the embryonic sac of fluid, and then they go in with forceps, these big, long, like 14-inch, kind of like needle nose pliers with a hook at the end. And what that's for is to rip and tear pieces of flesh out of the woman, of the unborn baby. So sometimes even that won't work. The baby is too big. It's too far along for even that in some cases. Rare, thank God. But in that case, they actually have to induce labor, either by cesarean or they give a drug that expels the baby. And then in that case, the baby is alive. It's connected to the woman. It has the umbilical cord connected. It's alive. And so, but in order to kill it, they have to break its neck. That's how they have to kill it at that point. Okay. And that's just called basic. If people think that that's wrong, then that's just basic human. That's what humans are. Humans grow.
Okay, I'm going to start you off by saying Plan B is not abortion. It prevents pregnancy before there's even the child there.
That's what you think, because to me, a person starts at conception when that egg and that sperm meet, and it creates a brand new DNA that's never existed in the history of all humanity. That's when that brand new DNA is created. And that's where I say, when the woman argues, oh, well, it's my body. Well, no, it's not your body. It's separate from you. It's its own DNA that's not your DNA.
Okay. So are you getting that from like what science is, or are you getting that from what, like, I don't know if you're religious or anything, so I don't want to like, what's the word? I don't want to like assume that, but are you getting that from like a religious belief, or are you getting that from science?
I'm getting that from the science of embryology.
Okay. So then I don't want to like be like, oh yeah, abortion's great, and I think everybody should have abortions if they're pregnant. I think that's one of the main reasons that, like, I don't really know anyone who's like pro, like everyone should get abortions, but pro-choice is having the choice of like wanting to do it, basically. So when you look at, I'm gonna go into kind of like why people get abortions, because I think that's not really what you're understanding is the reason behind it. If that makes sense.
Well, there is to justify reasoning. I think you're starting yourself off on the wrong path.
What do you mean, like on the wrong path? I guess.
Well, we can agree that there's Mother Teresa's of the world and there's Stalin's and Hitler's of the world, right?
Okay.
We believe that their morality, the range of morality within people varies greatly, right? So
Yeah.
to cite morality, your personal, well, not morality, to cite your personal feelings as an evidence for or against, you're asserting. Well, go ahead. I'll let you go with it.
Yeah, no, I'm just kind of saying, like, one of like the main reasons I think people don't look at, mainly people who are pro-life, don't look at the fact of how much it is to raise a child and like the mental aspect of pregnancy in general. Because
You're talking about the cost,
the amount,
the mental. You're
like
talking
the
about the
cost of
cost,
after you
and
have the kid.
okay. So, do you know that there's
Like once that child is,
social programs that give people free housing, free food, free medical care?
there totally is, but not everybody can get accepted for it.
Right. You know who can't get accepted for it?
Certain people, if you make even say 50 cents over what the minute, like there's wages you have to comply with, and if you
what's
make
the minimum?
even a little bit,
what's the minimum?
I don't know the specific minimums and everything.
Right, and that's an important factor.
Is
that's an important factor that blows a hole in this argument. Is that for one, it's scalable. If you make no money, everything's free. If you make this amount of money, then that's a proportion. If you make an extreme amount of money over $70,000, then you're buying health insurance like a normal exchange, like on a normal market. So this argument that, well, you shouldn't have the baby, you should allow abortion because they can't afford it is wrong. They can afford it, no matter who you are, what your income level, you can afford it.
There's also that middle ground, almost, if you want to call it that. There's that middle ground where if you can make too much to be accepted for these programs that do help you through that, and then if you're making like not enough to basically support this child, basically.
You can.
But not everybody can get access to those things.
Yes, they can.
No, okay. There is that, like, we're going to say it on a line. On that line, we have people who have less money, and then we have like the richer, and then we have that middle ground where you're making too much to get access to these free programs and the programs that help.
That's when it's discounted.
They're really okay.
It's proportional.
Basically, what I was. It's proportional?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that it?
What?
Is that it?
I mean, if you want it to be.
We can go. What's another thing you want to bring up?
I mean, personally, I think I'm going to end here because I do have to go soon, and I want Joy to talk because I've heard her talk in other places, and I think her points are very valid. So I will let Joy start talking.
Okay. Anyways, so I do want to state that Plan B, have you known anyone personally around you that have taken Plan B?
Yeah.
Because I can't ask you. I mean, obviously, it's something a woman takes.
Yeah, I've known people that have had abortions, Plan B, killed people.
I'm talking about Plan B, though.
Yeah, abortions, Plan B, everything.
Well, Plan B is not actually considered a birth control method because...
So it doesn't control birth?
No, because Plan B is
Plan B doesn't control birth. Say that back to yourself.
Okay, listen. Birth control is different. But I'm just saying there's a difference between it's an emergency contraceptive. It's not used
so it controls
as birth control. No, it does. It literally stops the sperm from implanting.
If you don't take Plan B, what happens?
You get pregnant.
And what happens after that?
Whatever else happens, either a miscarriage or
a baby
abortion
happens,
or a baby or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, I think a baby happens after that. So to say that it's not birth control is somewhat disingenuous, right?
Well, I'm addressing when you said that they take a Plan B pill, and then if that doesn't happen, they've got to go in and suction out everything, etc. A Plan B pill is actually recommended to be taken within an hour, less than an hour to up to 72 hours after unprotected sex.
After
So it's to
and
so it's
after
supposed
fertility,
to keep this. Yeah, it's supposed to. No, it's not after fertility. You are
because that's
fertile
what
after
it's stopping.
It's not after fertility because it stops the sperm from actually going into the egg. It releases chemicals so that the sperm never makes it to the egg. So therefore, the woman's not pregnant at that point. Okay, that's what that's
So are you
for.
stopping? Are you stopping a pregnancy? Are you stopping a pregnancy or not stopping a pregnancy?
You're not aborting, like in your words that you said, because the fertilization never happens. And if it happened, you were past that 72 hours.
So you're
That's what
saying
I'm saying.
that
It's
egg
not
is not
actually an abortion
fertilized.
thing. They will never, ever, ever give you a Plan B pill, sir. What they will give you is an abortion pill, and there's a difference. Plan B stops the sperm. Once it enters into the vaginal canal, it stops it from going into the egg, so then therefore you will not have a positive pregnancy
So
test.
why would it, what's the separation then from birth control, like a traditional monthly cycle of birth control and Plan B? Why don't they just take a regular
the same.
traditional birth control?
It came out wrong, but the thing is that IUDs, birth control pills, affect women differently. Okay, like I was on both. With the pill, I had breakthrough shed bleeding, and I had it about 3 to 4 times because at that case with birth control pills, you have like 45 minutes window to take it every day at the same time. If not, you've got to wait 3 to 4 days and then start the cycle again. And in those 3 to 4 days, there is a higher chance of you getting pregnant. And then with an IUD, it releases a chemical to like make sure that it never reaches the egg as well. So what I meant is that a Plan B is not the same as an abortion pill because you're using it in the scenario that if that didn't work, a Plan B pill didn't work to terminate that baby's life or whatever, that they will go in with a vacuum. That only happens 1%. If the baby is that big, it's medically deemed like necessary. And that's when the doctors are saying, hey, there's something wrong with the placenta, or the baby's already dead, or the mother will die having this baby. So that's after, I would say, 18, 19 weeks, they no longer allow convenient abortions. It's deemed medically necessary. And worldwide, if you want to talk about a bigger gap, sometimes they don't even do it past 26 to 28 weeks. But most of the time it's about 18, 19. So the baby's formed, it's got to break its neck and blah, blah, blah. That is literally because the baby's either already passed or the baby's not going to survive, or there's something wrong with the placenta. Okay, so that's where the confusion is going. Most of the abortions take place, 98% of them, within, like, before the fetus is even sentient of anything. But where I wanted to get to is if you, do you feel like they should put a, sorry, my asthma, shoot. Okay, do you feel like it should be illegal?
What?
In the U.S., abortions in general?
Yes.
Like the whole U.S.? Okay.
Yes.
Do you believe in punishment for which party? The mother or the doctors? Okay, so if a woman gets an abortion, she doesn't get any punishment. It's just the providers.
Yes.
Okay. Now, what I'm saying is in the results of the states that have made abortion illegal, such as like Alabama, right? And I believe you said something about your pro, like state Medicaid, etc., and like expanding that, correct? Or you said you're pro expanding like Medicaid and state assistance, right?
No, I'm not pro expanding it.
Like state welfare?
I'm not pro expanding it.
Okay,
it's
so
there.
Okay, do you realize, and I'm talking from experience as well, that they run out of funding so quickly? That there are literal 3-year wait lines, if not 4 to 5.
For what? For
HUD, for ELC. Do you know what ELC is?
I haven't heard of ELC. A lot of these programs are statewide.
Okay, ELC, and they could be considered different names, obviously based on the state, but it's like assistance for childcare. Like they pay portion of your child daycare, etc. HUD is when
What's
they
the
pay for
acronym
either
for
rent.
ELC?
It's like, hold on. I know it's learning something, but hold on, let me see.
I Google search ELC. It says, "Welcome to ELC at University of
Early
Georgia."
learning. It's like early learning. Oh, early learning coalition of whatever the state and county is. So they
ELC
help with like.
Deval is closed to the public for in-person service during this time. We encourage the public to contact us by phone. Blah blah blah. Calendar. So the ELC is
Yeah,
is
it's
an
Early Learning
organization.
Coalition. Yeah, it's Early Learning Coalition. They provide like childcare assistance where they pay a portion of your childcare. They may help you with like after school care for like school age children, etc. So
Dude, I should get
that's
on this. Childcare is super
but
expensive.
that's the thing is like majority of people don't qualify. Like I've been
Yeah,
to the
and I
interviews
don't
and
qualify either.
but I'm saying is like you're saying that oh, there's plenty of programs, which there are in many states, but they run out of funding, and they most likely,
No,
especially
so
during
that's not
COVID.
true. So
Yes, they
you
do. I've
have
literally.
no. You're talking about a babysitting program. Let's be
No,
fair.
it's not a
I'm talking
babysitting
about
program. It's a bigger
food.
program than that.
I'm talking about food, housing, and medical care. The
HUD
three
also
most
runs out.
important things.
HUD runs out. I've been on the HUD list before in different counties that I've lived in Florida, and a lot of counties where there are high populations, they run out extremely fast. In fact, they
They
told me right
don't,
now
and
they're not.
I've
They
been on those programs, and
I'm
they don't
telling you
run
right now,
out.
sir, they let a list go up to 4 to 5 years, and they straight up after that, they'll say, look, we ran out of funding. We're going to pause the list for those who are even on the list, and we're not even accepting applications.
And that's where I go back to the saying that it's a social safety net, not a social hammock.
It's I wouldn't even consider it a safety net because like I said, even though you're low income does not mean you qualify for like food
Yeah,
stamps.
it does because it's
For food
proportional.
stamps,
So it's proportional based on how much you make. So it's not a you get it or you don't get it. It's a percentage of how much you do get. Depending on how much money you make, distinguishes the state to say
and
how
how
much
many
they will
children you
give
have as
you.
well.
Yes. So to say
But I'm
that,
saying
oh, well, you make too much money, so therefore you get nothing is wrong.
what are you talking about? Because if you make too much money, you don't qualify though.
Oh gosh, just what I
And they
said
can't
just now. It's not a yes or no. It's a scale. So depending on how much you make depends on how much assistance you get. It's not a do you get assistance or not get any assistance. It's a proportion.
Yes, I am well aware of that as I have been on these assistants.
Right.
Okay?
So
But
I
I'm
don't get why you're
saying
saying
is
that
my
some people don't
point
qualify.
because they don't. If I was to get a job and marry right now and he
If
has
they
a
don't
decent
qualify, then
job,
they make so much money that they don't get any assistance.
look, listen, most middle class people are struggling more than even just the low or the higher class. And majority
What
of
a
people are middle class or low class. Let's just be
sure.
honest.
Yes.
So the low class are getting EBT or whatever food stamps, right?
Yeah.
But the middle class have children, and if you take away abortions, etc., those same middle class families will have more children, just like the lower class.
Sure.
Okay? So where do you think that those middle class people who don't even qualify, even with less children, are going to get any sort of assistance with more
Because
children?
at a certain point, that's why I say it's not supposed to be a social safety hammock. It's a social safety net. It's
And I
not there
understand
for you
that,
to.
Greg.
It's not there for you to lay in for the rest of your
But
life.
but you
To
are
say that,
saying,
well, I'm only being given this program for 2 years or whatever. Yeah, because you as an individual need to take responsibility after a certain point and say, okay, I was given help for the past how many years or whatever. And at a certain point, it's my responsibility to change my circumstances.
well, I'm saying in general is that the government also gives those assistance to people that are like way low class, like low class. They don't like, especially the single mothers, because there's like 15.3 million single mothers just in the U.S. Right? So
Which
they
is
give the food
horrible.
stamps to them. Yes, I agree. And it's like almost like they give you so much assistance and then the funds run out for other assistance. Like they may have the funding for food stamps, but then you don't have funding for HUD. Okay, then you don't have enough. They run out of the funding for child daycare services. So it's almost like they're keeping you. It's a way to help in the like on the
This
outside,
money
but it
isn't
keeps you in a
coming,
loop.
Joy. This money isn't coming from one bank, one entity.
I know
All
it's
of these
not.
entities that you're talking about, HUD, food, housing, medical care, these are all separate. Think of them as separate bank accounts. So if you say, oh, well, I'm getting a bunch of money for food, that's not depleting the HUD amount or the medical amount.
I know
They're all
that because they will
separate
still get.
entities.
Sir, I understand this because I've literally seen where people still get their food stamps on a constant basis, but HUD was ran out or ELC was ran out. I'm saying, and my point in bringing that up was that when a state becomes anti-abortion, such as
Mm-hmm.
Alabama and 13 other states, they fail
Mm-hmm.
to expend their Medicaid coverage, etc. It's
Yeah, they
correlated to
shouldn't.
health disparities and outcomes. It
They
literally
shouldn't
is. So you're
because, like I said, people need to take ownership of their lives at a certain point.
okay. And I understand where you're trying to come from there. But like I said, if you can understand growing up in a low income house, sorry, and family, and experiencing like a lot of hard times myself and my own children, it's almost like they know that certain people will never be able to get out of that loop. They do. So in a sense,
Who
okay,
knows
we're gonna
this?
give you me personally.
So you
So
know
so
that
what
you
will
will
happen?
never get out of this loop.
No, I'm saying is that they try to make it so hard for you to be
Who's they?
like the government. So
The
I will give you an
government. Okay, so the
example. Okay,
government.
can I actually explain where I'm coming from, or you're gonna
I
just
am, but I'm trying to make your explanation make sense to me. So
you're
I'm
trying to
interrupting
make my
you. I'm interrupting
explanation,
you at
but
certain
I'm trying to
points
explain.
because I, like I said, remember that straw argument, the straw man argument I talked about earlier, where I
No, I
said
don't.
you're creating an effigy of something that's not my opinion and then arguing against that effigy. Well, that's not my opinion. So
What?
that's why I stop and interrupt you. It sounds rude, but I'm stopping you from putting in a false perception of what the stance and belief is that you're arguing
No,
against.
I'm talking about my personal experience and the experience of others, okay, that I personally know. So what will happen is like say in a case where you have a single mother and she has one or two children, right? It's easier for a woman, a single mother with one child to afford daycare, right? Wait, it's echoing now. I don't know why.
Okay, come back and come back on.
All
We
right,
still
hold
love. Incredibly patient. Thank you for waiting. Blackbird singing in the dead of night.
I get that a lot. Uh, so first and foremost, I just want to say a couple of things about some things you said earlier. You mentioned that fetuses can feel pain at 12 weeks. That is just a false statement. I'm looking at multiple studies from the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, the American Academy of Neurology, as well as the National Center for Biotechnology Information, who unanimously agree that pain in fetuses doesn't start until around 24 to 28 weeks. So I don't know where you got that from, that like fetuses feel pain at 12 weeks. Also, primarily when it comes to abortions and when they happen, 92.7% of abortions are before 13 weeks, 6.2 are between 4 and 20 weeks, and less than 1% are performed after 21 weeks. Or that's what we would consider to be a late-term abortion. And usually in those cases, it's only if like the mother's life is in absolute danger. So I just want to know where you're getting your information from.
Well, first, when an abortion happens doesn't matter.
Okay, so we can agree that you don't care when it happens.
Yeah, any abortion I think is wrong no matter when it happens.
Okay, I haven't really heard your ideology on why you think that's the case.
Because I think when conception happens, that's what creates, unless you intervene, a person.
Why would you consider it a person?
Because unless you intervene, it becomes you and I.
So, hold on. So
I know
are you
this is
saying that?
mind blowing.
No, it's not. Not at all. So you're saying that because the zygote or the fetus has the potential to become a person, that it should be granted rights?
Rights.
Rights,
Like,
yes.
do I think it should
Like
be
the
able
right
to
to life,
vote?
for example.
No. Do I
No,
think
like
that
the right to life.
Yes.
So you think that a zygote, which is just like a multi-cell organism, should have the right to life because you think that it's a person?
So you're reframing it to try to distance it from being a person by saying zygote, clump of cells, whatever.
Well, that's what it's called. That's why we don't call
That's
it a
what
baby.
you call it. I call it
No,
a
no, no.
person.
That's what it is called. It's called a zygote.
Sure, and you can use
I'm not
whatever
like making up
adjectives.
terms
You can
here.
call it goo. You can call it cells. You can call it fetus. You can call it zygote. You can call
Right.
it whatever you want. Whatever makes it easier for that abortion pill to go down the throat. You can
Mhm.
call it whatever you want. To me, it's killing a person.
Why do you think it's killing a person?
Because
Why would you
unless
consider it a person that has the right to life?
I think if you heard yourself say that, you'd be flabbergasted. But
I'm not.
okay, that's horrible. Yeah, because unless you do something, it becomes you and I.
So you're saying potential is your argument?
Potential.
Potential,
Yes,
yes. Like the potential to grow into like me and you.
Yes,
Why does potential matter?
because potential is what saves the world.
What do you mean? Give me an example.
Like define potential. Like what is potential? Potential is the opportunity to do great or horrible things. Potential.
Or horrible things, right? So like we could potentially give birth to the next Hitler, for example.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Good. Yeah.
And you think that's okay?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So the thing about potential, right, is
Because
that
the only other alternative is saying, well, let's not take the risk and let's kill it.
right. Yeah. So again, because it's so here's the thing, right? So it's you consider it just to be a person because it has the potential to become a person. I'm confused. If it's not a person,
No, I believe it's a person with the potential to become you and
Become
I,
what?
fully grown, 6 foot, whatever.
What are you and I though? What would you consider you and I?
I don't know. Adults, hopefully.
Adults. So you consider an adult to be a person?
Yes. I consider a baby a person. I consider people in comas persons. I consider babies persons. I consider a baby that's 2 months away from being born a person. Yeah, I consider that a person. And unless you do something after that conception, when that baby is being developed, then it will go through all of those natural processes unless you do something to stop it.
Right. So again, you're saying that a person has the potential to become a person, which doesn't really make any sense. So you have to
That's
describe.
the words.
Well,
that's the words that you say, and that's why they don't make sense.
yes, but so why okay, so I'll ask you a different question. Why do you consider a zygote or a fetus a person? Why do you consider it a person?
Because again,
you think it's a person, but
maybe
why?
I should write this down and I could just hold it up. Because unless you do something, unless you stop it, it will grow and develop and have all the potential and do all those things.
Hold on, I'm confused. So you're saying
Yeah.
that you place value, or you consider it a person because
It's life.
has.
Yeah, it's life. Yeah.
So because it's life. What? So how do you what makes it like life? What makes it alive? At that point in time, when it's like it's just like devastated.
It's a separate, unique DNA that, unless mitigated, is birthed and born and grows and dies.
Right. Do you think that we place value in like all life?
Yes.
No, we don't.
Well, we should.
People don't. Yeah, but we don't. I mean, are you vegan?
No.
So you don't value all life.
Right. I don't. I value life. I'm grateful that there are deers and cows that I can kill and eat, so I do value them.
But you don't value their life, though. You don't value their life.
I do value their life, because if they didn't exist, I would die.
No, so you value their death because they have to die for you to eat them. Do you eat them? Do you eat deer when they're alive?
They have to be alive for them to have death. That's how death works.
So you don't value you value their death, and in their death, then you can eat their meat. So you don't value their life because you're ending.
Well,
you're not you in particular. I'm not unless you hunt. So you don't really value their life.
Death. You can't value their death unless you value their life. Does that make sense?
Not true. Well, so if you're killing it, you're not valuing its life. How do you value something's life by ending it?
Because by its death, you live.
Hopefully I don't get kicked off as well.
Is it just me? Like, it seems like everyone's doing they're not doing the live, like their face shown version. Does it maybe, I think it gives like a better connection, maybe like there's not as much data having to be transferred, and maybe anybody in the comments or anybody think that like maybe the live works better if it's not the video, if it's just like anyway, interested to see people's thoughts.
I'd like to touch base on something that Blackbird said, something that you said earlier in your live, and that's that babies can feel pain at 12 weeks. Where did you hear that?
Where that babies can be feel pain at 12 weeks?
Pain. Yeah, where did you hear that?
I was watching a video from, this was a person from the something of embryology, the center of the embryo. I don't know what the phrasing was, but that's where they got it.
Okay,
that's where I got it.
That's definitely misinformation, and I'll tell you why. Okay. So in order for you to feel pain, your body needs to be able to produce an action potential.
Okay, let's say we can stop it right now. Let's say they can't feel pain. So now is it okay?
Oh, I've had an abortion for my own reasons. I've had to. So I respect women's choice. I'm pro-choice, so I respect every woman's choice to choose.
That's awesome. So, but my question was not that. My question was, let's say they can't feel pain. Let's say they'll never feel pain, even after they're born and their whole life. Let's say they'll never feel pain. Does that now make it okay? Because that was your reason for abortion, right?
You're straw manning. That's not my question. That's not what I came on to ask you.
That's the only thing I've gotten out of you so far.
Well, no, it's not really. I asked you about where you heard the whole misinformation about babies feeling pain at 12 weeks.
Right, and I gave you that answer, and so now then you brought up feeling pain, and then I answered that. So where do we go now?
I was going to explain to you how pain works and how they cannot feel pain at 12 weeks. And you
and I'm saying we don't even have to go down that road because it has no. We don't even have to go down that road because it has no different. It makes no difference. If they can feel, let's say I'm wrong. Let's say they can't feel pain.
What I was asking you.
Let's say they can never feel pain. Does that change abortion being right or wrong?
I think an abortion is up to whoever chooses to do whatever they want to do with their body.
What about a murderer?
I think when you think that abortion is right or wrong,
when you think abortion is right or wrong, that's opinionated. That's an opinion-based argument.
Yes.
My opinion is obviously different to yours. My opinion's valid, and so is yours. Everyone's entitled to their opinion.
Yes.
I am pro-choice. I like to advocate for women having the choice over their bodies and doing whatever the hell they want with their bodies. You obviously have a different choice.
Yes.
And that's fine. You can have that choice, but that's not what I came on here to debate.
Okay, well, start with the debate.
Start with the debate. I literally just came on to correct the misinformation that you said. That's it.
And what was the, okay. That's cool. Point of that was she's like, we're here to talk. Well, they can't feel pain. What's your sources? Let's debate sources, because my sources are right and your sources are wrong. So let's debate. Well, if can't feel, okay, well, I'll just end it. I'll say let's say they can't feel pain. Now what? Okay, does that change anything? No? So, okay, what's the point now? Well, I was right because I said that. And my sources are right and yours are wrong. So I don't get what the point of that was.
Yep, exactly. Raven ruins all. I used to
Okay,
have
cool.
a photograph that a pic that would say that.
Do you have a way
I
of
smoked-
increasing the volume?
Can you hear me better?
It's kind of like, I don't know, like you're far away.
Hold on. Putting my headset on. Give me a second. Is this better?
Yeah, way better.
All right, there we go. Okay, so let's get this show started, shall we? I got a couple questions for you because I do not like strawmanning arguments. I am a strictly technical type of guy.
Awesome.
So my first question is, you advocate for the criminalization of abortion?
No.
But no. Okay. So we part from the idea that you do not want to criminalize abortion.
I want to criminalize, I want to make abortion illegal. And if abortion happens after it's made illegal, then it would be criminal.
So in other words, if I understand you correctly, because if you're making something illegal, it is through the process of law, which then in turn creates a criminalization.
Yes.
So in synthesis, we can agree that your position is you advocate for the criminalization of abortion, correct?
After it's made illegal, correct.
Okay, that's a semantic thing because for me...
Yes, it is semantic.
The process of making something illegal undoubtedly carries on the weight of criminalization. So illegality and criminalization go hand in hand. But okay, we understand each other. I'm not going to go into the semantics. Now, my second question, are you an advocate for fetal rights? Meaning to ascribe either civil rights or human rights to the fetus in the same level that is applied to a person?
No, like the same thing. Like if you, I don't know how far back you were listening, but like, do I think babies should have the right to vote or drive or smoke or get a gun? I think we're getting into the realm of ridiculousness. But does a baby have the right to live? Yes.
Interesting. So, technically speaking, your position is, and you can agree with the next statement, a fetus, a zygote, and throughout the whole process is not a person because the term person is a legal term that implements or refers to obtaining the civil rights.
Okay, so don't use the term person, use the term life.
I'd rather use the term of
I know you'd
potential.
rather use the term person because it supports what you're saying. I'm saying
No. I'm against the implementation.
Use the term life then if you want to equivocate personhood with rights like voting and driving and smoking and all that stuff. Okay, well then don't use the term a person. Use the term life. I'm against a woman ending a baby's life.
No, what the reason of this particular question is that we can set a base of understanding of not only what terms we can agree on.
Yeah, and that's why I'm correcting you. Is that's my stance. That's my foundation. Is what I said.
Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure I'm not strawmanning you, and I make sure that I am understanding
let's go on.
Correctly. All right, let's move on. So, in this sense, you also stated earlier on that you value life. Correct?
Yes.
My question to you is, how do you value more the life of a potential versus the life of a woman who's here right now?
I don't value them more or less.
You know, it's interesting, but the perception of your comment in that sense did indicate that there is a certain higher valuation between the potential and the actual person or woman in that sense.
Well, then your interpretation of what I said is wrong.
That's why I asked. So, to you, all lives are equal, correct?
Life is equal, yes. Human life is equal, yes.
So, my next question to you would be, in that sense of life, we implement rights as a form of protecting precisely that life from either emanating from the Bill of Rights in your country or in the international law emanating from the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and the whole doctrine behind that. Can we agree on that?
No, because you're still trying to conflate terms with rights of a person, a legally voting person, to a right to life. And you and I both know that a baby and a fetus cannot vote in Congress or does not have representation because they have no vote, right? They're being developed, they're growing, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's why I'm using the term life, and you're trying to use you're trying to skim that over and go, oh, person, rights of people. You do you agree that this baby should have all the rights as same rights as people? Should they be able to own a gun? Like that's where it's being disingenuous.
Actually, no. The reason I'm doing this is because I'm trying to understand two determinations in regards of your particular arguments. Because if I speak it from a technical standpoint of view, human rights as well as civil rights have four major characteristics to them. They're universal, they are inalienable, they're interdependent, they're interrelated, and they behave with a supraconstitutionality to them.
What does okay, let me stop you here. What does inalienable mean?
It means that rights cannot be taken away, but they can be limited in space and time.
No, that's not what inalienable means.
What definition are you using? Black law?
No. Inalienable means that they're rights that cannot be given to you, that they're inherent in you with being alive. Meaning, like the founding fathers put it in the way that God gives you these rights, and therefore no man can take them away because they're given to you no matter what the people legislate or want to take away from you, that they're given to you. From the founding fathers' terminology, they're given to you by God. That's what inalienable means. It means that no one can change them or take them from you.
On that, we disagree fundamentally because I never mix the notion of a dogmatic start point from the application of human rights as itself and rights emanating from the constitutional analysis. That first, I would consider.
So I see the argument that you're trying to set a foundation on, which is you're trying to change the term of my foundation of my argument. You're trying to say that, oh well, the legality and the rights given to voting peoples, we can't give that same thing to a baby in the womb. Therefore, that baby in the womb is not whatever you want to use, a person, a human, or whatever.
I would like to contest those bases in a technical, respectful way, mainly starting with this point that you made in regard to rights and the definition of inalienable. First, yes, the first part, we can agree that inalienability of those rights means that they are rights that have been there for forever. However, au contraire of you, I do not implement the naturalist.
What was that word? Contraire?
Au contraire. That's French.
So, no, restate your sentence. I know what au contraire means, but I didn't understand what you were saying.
All right. So